Got it.
Hey, Christina, welcome. And please introduce yourself to people who
Hey.
don't know you yet.
I am Cristina Spataro. I'm a psychotherapist and relationship coach, and I'm happy to be here.
Sweet. Thanks for being here, Christina. I'm D.Lisa West, and I am what am I? I'm a human. I love to make art, and I love to talk about spiritual things. Today, we're going to talk about procrastination because it's one of my favorite things to do to keep me from what I'm really supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So yeah, one of the and when I teach my coaching clients this, I'm like, one of the things that comes up when you're just living, but especially if you have a big goal or a dream, is you start moving toward it, and then all these paradigms come up, and you're like, ooh. One of the paradigms is, I don't need to do that right now. I can do it later. And so we already talked in another episode about distraction. It's when I was like, ooh, squirrel. Ooh, I better do my laundry. I need to wash my clothes. I have to go make sure my car is all together and finish reading that library book because it's overdue. Yeah. But so many ways that we can procrastinate that keep us from doing what we love or doing what we would love. How do you help people with that issue?
So first, help people. I confess that I can be guilty of it too. I may be therapist, but I am incredibly human. And things that I really don't want to do, I really put off. I really do. So I think part of it is we look at, why are you not doing it? What's holding you back from doing it? What is making you, oh, gee, yeah, I got to organize my closet instead of getting this done. So, or whatever it is you're doing instead of the thing you're supposed to be doing, or you think you're supposed to be doing. So what's stopping you? And once you kind of look at that, then you're like, okay, so what would happen if you got this done? What is it you're afraid of? I swear everything goes back on some level to fear. It really, everything
So
on some level goes back to fear.
Right. So what is it you're afraid of? If you complete this task, then you'll have to really be the person you say you're going to be, or do the thing that you say you're going to do. And then you can say, oops, I'm not quite ready for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Also beautiful. So I used to always be late for things. That's also part of being a procrastinator. So instead of getting all my stuff together and getting in whatever kind of transit to get to wherever I'm going, I'm just like, oh, I'll do that in a minute. I'll do that in a minute. In fact, I used to leave my house and go, oops, I forgot one thing. Go back. Oops, I forgot one thing. Go back. So much so that when my daughter was 2, she pretended that she was the mom and I was the kid, and she got my briefcase. I had a briefcase at the time. And she said, Mommy, I'm the mommy and you're the kid. I'm going to work now. And she goes, bye, honey. She took my briefcase. She went to the door. She opened it. She closed it. She goes, oh, one more thing. And then she went into the house and she did something, and she went to the door again. She goes, bye, honey. See you later. And then she went to the door, opened it, closed it. She came back. One more thing. She did that multiple times. And I was like, whoa. So for the people listening to this that have children, they will show you what you're doing, even if you don't realize you're doing it. That was the moment I realized that I often left the house disorganized and just remembered I had needed one more thing. And no matter, I was late for everything all the time, because when I left, I was already late. And then I kept going back. Get the one more thing. And then I was really late.
Exactly. No, I think many of us have been guilty of that. I admit in my own life too, I've been guilty of that, where I make myself think I have more. I think, that scene in The Incredibles, we know we have to do a movie thing. So
I love The Incredibles.
I love The Incredibles. In the beginning, Mr. Incredible is like, I got time. Because he's supposed to actually be at his wedding to Elastigirl, but of course he keeps stopping to like fight all these crime things. He's like, I go so much. I got time. So I'm not fighting crime, but I am guilty of that. Oh, I could get this. I could do this quick, or I got a minute to do this. Oh, I got a minute to do it. Before you know it, the minutes are gone. And like, oh shoot, I'm late.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to think when I was a younger woman and I was a real estate broker and before car phones or cell phones, I'd think I can call that person back and then leave. I can make 2 more phone calls and then leave. And then the phone call you think will take 3 minutes takes 10.
Exactly.
And pretty soon I'm half an hour late.
There you go.
Because I did one more thing.
One more thing.
Just one more thing was just the trick that fooled myself into thinking I could procrastinate.
Yes. You know, I don't know if our audience has ever seen the show Columbo, but as we keep saying one more thing, I can't help but it reminds me of the detective show Columbo, which if you haven't seen it, there's actually a Columbo fan base of people that have uploaded talks about the episodes, and that was his shtick. He came across as this forgetful guy who would always be disarming to the villain because they thought he was just this forgetful schlub, but he really knew everything. But his standard thing was just one more thing, just one more thing. And that one more thing was a delaying tactic and a disarming one.
Right. I remember Columbo. Didn't he always have a sucker in his mouth?
He had his cigar. That's the sucker. The sucker was Kojak.
Oh, okay.
Kojak. Okay.
So, but there was something he was doing with his mouth. And then he's like, one more thing. And then that one more thing question would solve the whole crime.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So we all turn into Columbos when we're procrastinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember taking a sales course many years ago, and they were saying, you know, is this glass full? Or maybe it was a pitcher. Maybe it was a bucket. It was something clear. And they put big rocks in it. Yeah, we said it's full. And then they said, no, it's not. And they put little rocks in it that fit around the big rocks. And we all said, is it full? Yeah, it's full. No, it's really full. And they're like, no, we can pour sand in it. And then, so there's big rocks, little rocks, sand in it. Is it full now? Yeah, we all said it's full. And they're like, no, now we can pour water in it. And the image has stayed with me because and then the rest of that lesson was, there's more to do than you think, and you should eat the big frogs first. You should put the big rocks in first. So what's that thing that you really don't want to do that you want to procrastinate around? Just do it.
Just do it. Just get it done.
Do the thing that feels like the ickiest thing, like eating a frog would be. Yes. And then, sorry for people that like to eat frogs, but yeah, no. Do the big thing first. The thing that you really don't want to do the most, and then you're free to do the little things.
I love that. And it actually ties into how do we deal with fear? Because if we're saying that fear is underlying everything, including our procrastination, they say that the best way to deal with fear is literally to face it. Because, you know, avoidant behavior is very common when you're fearful. But the more you avoid, the worse, the harder it is going to be for you to do this thing. The avoidant behavior actually increases the fear. So we teach people, when we're trying to help them get rid of the fear, you got to go through it. So the thing you don't want to do, the thing you can't imagine doing, you just got to do it. It's like the old Nike thing. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also I think for some people, like maybe they want to go bungee jumping. Then should they just do that first, or make the appointment?
It depends, because what are you prioritizing in your life? Because it's not hard to prioritize fun. It's not hard to prioritize things we really want. Now, I will say, I do believe in recharging. And I think during one of our talks, I talked about this screensaver thing I got off like a meditation app. And it was like when you are doing when you change activities or you change the thing you were doing, you're not wasting time, you're recharging or something like that. So there is a recharging element. But here's the thing, there's a fine line between doing things that are pleasurable to recharge and avoiding the thing you need to do so that it becomes a bigger mess for you than if you just get it done.
Yeah. And then the total opposite concept, I think, for like eating the big frog first or putting the big rock in first is if you want to just take a baby tiny step, that kind of cracks open your procrastination because you did one thing, even if it's a small thing,
even if it's
you did one thing because you want to do this big thing. And on the way to the big thing are lots of little tiny steps, as they say, one step at a time takes you up the mountain.
Exactly.
So just like whatever it is you would love to do, start doing something that will take you there.
Right. And recognize that the journey is just as important, if not more important than the destination. Because a lot of times we save all our energy for the finish line. We're like, when I have this, everything's going to be great. But the problem is that finish line can feel far away. But if you actually do this rewarding of the steps to the finish line, you're going to stay motivated. So if you recognize the little steps as being vital and important and their completion as good, then you will stay motivated. Because part of what leads to procrastination is we lose our motivation. We're like, oh, this is going to take so long. I'll never get it done. This is not going to work. And we do all that. But if we do the little steps to the big ones, those are little wins that we can celebrate. So like, okay, let's say you wanted to start that business. That can start with making that phone call to see about renting space, or making that phone call to see about corporations, whatever it is, whatever that little step is. It could be buying business cards. It could be whatever it is you're doing. It's a step. It can be whatever simple thing. It can be buying the planner that you're going to write the plan in. But
that's so great. And then, of course, you can share that with your favorite therapist who can champion you and go, yay, you're doing it, or your coach. And I encourage people when they're going for a big dream to find a mastermind group and of similar dreamers, right? So you're all trying to write a book, or you're all trying to make a play, or you're all trying to, fill in the blank. Then you can say to those people, hey, I made a recording today and I put it on my Facebook. Or, hey, I went and got a business license, or whatever those small steps are toward going to your future dream. They can be champions for you, because oftentimes the people that are closest to us are not that encouraging. Because our friends and family know us in a certain way, and they don't want us to change. They think if we change, then something will happen that they can't predict. But if we stay the same, they can predict how we're going to be and what it's like to talk to us and invite us over. So change is scary for people. That's probably the other thing that comes up when you're procrastinating.
Yes. Fear of what if I do this thing and I change in this way, can I handle the changes in my life?
Ooh, there's a song. Joni Mitchell. Wait. Oh no, I'll have to find it later. Let's change.
You are so right, though, when we change the people in our lives, because they do know us a certain way, and there can be a comfort in that. And suddenly when we're a different person, you see that also with any kind of change. Like sometimes people who have now conquered like an addiction or something like that, the crazy thing is the relatives that maybe were a little enabling, like all of a sudden, it's not like they don't want the person to get better, but there was a role they had. Like there's an excellent movie, When a Man Loves a Woman, with Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan. And she plays an alcoholic. And, for there's a chunk of the movie where you could see her drinking is not good. And, he's encouraging her to, she needs to kick this. And, he plays such, loving husband, devoted father, just really good guy. And so she finally has this epiphany moment based on a reaction that her daughter's having to the drinking, that just, I got to stop this. So she goes to AA, she gets herself cleaned up, and he actually is feeling funny about her now. And she confronts him. She's like, you liked it when I was a mess and you had to clean me up, and that you had to be the strong one. I forget her whole speech, but it was like he had a role in her life that was very specific to propping her up when she was falling down. And now she didn't need him to prop her up in that way anymore. And they were having an issue in their relationship because of it.
I would venture to guess that most people that are in a relationship with an addicted partner, once the addicted partner gets clean, they don't really stay together.
I think there are a lot of breakups that does happen because, again, the dynamic is now changed. It's tricky. Why do we stay in certain relationships? What is it we're getting from it? All behavior, everything we do is serving some sort of function. It might be a maladaptive function, but it's serving something. And now
I read a quote the other day from Bob that I got from Bob Proctor, I'm pretty sure. And it was like, it was something like, explain what a paradigm is. So a paradigm is just a belief system we have that gets us to do a habitual behavior. And then he continues to say, and most 95% of all our behavior is habitual.
Yes.
And when you read that and think about it, it's like, wait a minute, 95% of what I'm doing is habitual. Think about it. You get up off the same side of the bed every morning. You walk to the bathroom in the same way every morning. You get the toilet paper with your right hand or your left hand. I mean, there's certain things we don't need to think about, but then there's other things we're doing habitually, like procrastinating, that we could really look at and change. And it takes a little bit of self-control and effort.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm a big believer, as you probably are too, that we all have the capacity for change. We just have to be willing to make ourselves a little uncomfortable to do it.
Well, and the other mysterious quote, don't know who said this. Change is the only constant.
Oh, you're right. I've heard that. Dang, who did say that?
I know someone famous said it and then everybody else said it. But when I first heard that, I was like, wait a minute, no. Oh, that's so true.
So true.
Because the only thing you can count on is that things will change.
100%. Absolutely.
Even if you're standing there saying, no, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it to change, it will change. Life is all about change, and it's about ever expanding and creating new things. And if we're not part of that creation, we're going anyway.
Yeah, we're going in whether we like it or not. I mean, a lot of life, honestly, it's like going with the current. It's like you're in a boat and you need to go with the current. You could try to fight it, but why are you fighting it? Because you're afraid where that current's taking you.
Right. And I was thinking about, I don't know the history of that song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. But if you think about the imagery in it, you're like, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. And so it's basically telling you what all the mystics are talking about, which is don't fight the flow, go with the flow.
Yes.
And life is like a dream because, yes, we're dreaming our life every minute. And I've often wondered, like, what does that even mean? But the older I get, the more I realize it just means that life is about the journey, and you should go downstream instead of trying to row upstream. You should be going with the stream.
You should be going with the stream. I I love that. You know, who would think that simple childhood song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, is actually one of the most profound philosophical statements. Go with the current, go with the stream, stop fighting it, you row your boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, okay. So our tricks and tips for our listeners would be, if you find yourself procrastinating, remember what it is, your true goal or mission or dream,
Mm-hmm.
and just choose one thing, one little rock, one little step,
Yes.
and that will bust you out of that procrastination stuckness that you're in.
Absolutely.
And then I think, as you mentioned, you should reward yourself somehow.
Yes.
So tell your mastermind, tell your therapist, go have a cup of relaxing tea or a bite of chocolate, or take a walk
Mm-hmm.
with your beloved pet, or do something that makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
happy, because it's not really about where we're going. So many people have found that the destination that they were struggling for
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make them happy.
Yes, they actually get disappointed.
I remember thinking one year, I really want to get married, have kids, get married, have kids, get married,
Mm-hmm.
have kids, get married, have kids. I started dating. I told all the guys on the
Mm-hmm.
second date, I want to get married and have kids. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And then I got married and had kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting around one day and thinking, oh, wow, I did that thing. Now what?
Right.
I mean, I was profoundly fulfilled because I wanted to get married. I did. I wanted to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Mm-hmm.
sat around and thinking, what? Wow. What's next? I mean, that was a big goal. That was a big dream.
Yeah.
And then when I was there, I was sort of lost.
Yeah. Because you saved it all up for this big dream. And once you have that, this is why a lot of times in relationships, you know, they say people get more excited about the chase than about when they actually get the person. Because you're building up, oh yeah, when I get this person, we'll be together. But like, again, it's about the journey. We've got to learn to embrace the journey. Yes, don't get me wrong. Have your goals, have your destination in mind, but embrace the whole process.
Yes, because the very wise people that I've listened to said, it's not the thing you're getting. It's not the business you're building
Mm-hmm.
or the relationship you
Mm-hmm.
eventually have. It's who you become along the journey.
Yes.
Who you have to become as a person is not
Mm-hmm.
the person you started out being.
That is true. That is very, very true.
Because you have to be brave. You have to
Mm.
face your fears and do the things that you want to procrastinate around.
Absolutely. Very profound, my friend.
I remember thinking when I worked on boats, and I was not in any way a sports person or
Mm-hmm.
any kind of athlete, but every day when I went out on these boats
Mm-hmm.
we had to go over this bar that was often rough with big, scary waves. And we went out in
Mm-hmm.
the ocean fishing, came back in and I couldn't swim. So every day
Mm.
I thought, I might die today. That's
Wow.
kind of an extreme concept, but I would look, there was a flashing light that said rough bar, rough bar, rough bar. And it was like lights would flash. Sometimes the sign was true and sometimes it wasn't, but I looked at it every day as we went out and I thought, oh no,
Wow.
the bar is going to be rough. I hope we don't die. And then when I came home at the end of the day, scrubbing the boat and getting it ready for the next day, I thought, I feel so alive. I feel
Because you're
so
alive.
exuberant because I didn't die. And then
That's
I
funny.
thought, I think this is why people like extreme sports,
Mm.
because they're doing something really frightening and scary, and they could die or become terribly injured. But at the end of the day, when they're not dead and they're not injured, they're like, woo!
Whoa, I didn't die.
So, I'm not suggesting to anyone you should go do extreme sports unless that's your thing, but
Mm-hmm.
isn't it an interesting concept to think that if we frighten ourselves just a little bit,
Right.
there's something exuberantly exciting on the other end of that frightened part. Get over the frightened part, get over the fear.
Get
And
over
then
the
it's like,
fear. Well, it's funny because the other side of that, when you have people who have fears of things that are not going to kill you, like when
Yeah.
I have people who are struggling, like with, going for that job they want or going for that relationship they want or whatever it is, they're scared. And I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? You're not going to die.
Yeah.
So it's like when you have people that have like this extreme fear of doing this thing, they're acting as if, oh my gosh, if I tell my boss that I want the promotion, I'm gonna die. No, it's not gonna be the end of the world here. You will
Although
not
I bet there's a part of them that thinks it is the end of the world, or they wouldn't be
Yes,
so afraid. So they have a
yes,
little tiny part of them that's thinking, if I don't get this job, then I'm not going to have a job. If I don't have a job, then
yes.
I'm not going to eat. And if I can't eat, I'll starve to death. I'll die. And
Oh
is
yeah,
that part is like
100%.
a
Yeah.
5-year-old.
Oh yeah. Totally. The spiral, the quick spiral.
Mhm.
So my role is to stop the spiral. Like, they start that train of thought, and exactly like you said, if I do this, and then we go, okay, whoa, okay, there's a whole lot of steps in there. Like you're assuming that have to happen for that to happen. Let's work with this because
Yeah.
most of the time, statistically speaking, it's probably not going to go there.
Plus, I think some people are afraid of the good that could happen. I mean, maybe they're afraid
Oh
of death, but
yeah.
maybe they're afraid of something bad's going to happen. But I think
Oh
people are also afraid of being seen,
yeah.
being
Yes.
seen as foolish,
Yes.
just letting themselves be out there and having someone disapprove
Yes.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't really be your full authentic self without a little bit of fear of something.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when we started doing, our wonderful podcast, which I love our weekly chats, there was that fear in me, like, oh my gosh, do I look okay? Will I come across it? Honestly, then that little self-doubting girl, she's still in there.
Yeah.
And that's where I have to talk to her too. I'm like, okay, Christina, I thought we talked about this. Like seriously, it's going to be okay. So that's human. I can have the knowledge and the techniques. You have the knowledge and the techniques, but underneath that, we are still human beings who are
Right.
still prone to the same moments of doubt and security. And you're right. You're right. And that idea of being seen, just putting yourself out there and letting people see you, can be positively terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that it's maybe more exacerbated since we're just coming out of the COVID era. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the other day, I went to a function, there were a lot of people in the same room. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, where's my mask? And
Yes.
then I thought, why am I afraid of crowds now?
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
enjoy it. I didn't
Right.
enjoy being in a room with a bunch of people. And I thought, when will I ever enjoy being in a room with a bunch of people? Or maybe I didn't ever because I'm an introvert and I
Mm-hmm.
just need to be okay with that. But
Exactly.
there's so much that we have thought about and not
Mm-hmm.
done in the last few
Mm-hmm.
years that now it's kind of like, ooh, should I go out? Should I stay
Yeah,
in? Should I wear my mask? Should I not? Oh my, blah, blah, blah.
it's true. It's true. I think we definitely are all scarred from this experience. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And because especially for us introverts, on one hand, we were okay kind of being on our own, but on the other hand, we didn't have the pressure to put ourselves out there. So now we have to do this again. So
Mm-hmm,
you mean all
mm-hmm.
that work I put to put myself out there, I have to kind of redo it because I sort of got a break for a while.
Yeah. 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 Ooh, let's talk about that on another podcast. Let's talk about introverts.
Ooh, yes, definitely. I love it. Just do that.
Okay. Well, let's leave it here for our listeners. I hope that this is helpful and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.